Hey, so I need a fun game to play with my family. Yeah, have you tried Splendor? It's a game about getting gems and trying to get the most points. That's cool, but is it fun? Okay, I see your point. There's one called A Christmas Karen where you try to hear bad reviews and figure out what they're talking about. Yeah, okay. But is it fun? I mean, all of our games are fun, but if that it doesn't do it for you, we have checkers and chess, very classic in a Hershey's kind of way. All right. But is it really fun though? I mean, if you don't think that's fun, then you can do slam words. You just shake up a cup and then slam the cup and find out what words make with these three letters. I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but is it fun? I give up.
I play a lot of board games throughout the year. 2023 has been a pretty good year for board games. And sometimes I come across these games that I have no reason whatsoever of why you should be buying them for the 12 games of Christmas other than they're just fun. And that's it. It's not because it's super quick. It's not because it's super cheap. It's not because the rules are only one paragraph. I mean, it's literally just because it's a hoot every single time. Let me just show you this game. It's called Ready, Set, Bet. This is Mr. Holiday's pick, my pick of the entire year. I was introduced to this game. It's not necessarily a game that came out in 2023, but it's a game that I discovered, and it's a horse racing game where you place bets on horses and you end up screaming at the top of your lungs for that number 9 horse to just cross the finish line already, hoping that the number 6 one doesn't come up and take the winning spot at the last second. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
So this is the board for Ready, Set, Bet. Don't be intimidated by the large board or the tons of numbers on there. It's very, very simple and straightforward. Like I mentioned, you are at a racehorse and you're trying to win the most money. Okay, money comes in these different different denominations here. The idea is that you're going to take some of your betting tokens, which are going to be specific to your color, and don't worry, they are colorblind friendly. They have different patterns in the background. The idea is that you're going to place bets and you're going to say, oh, I think, that the number 8 horse is going to win, so I'm going to place my betting token in the win section. Or if I think that he's going to come in first or second, then maybe I'll place a bet token here in the place section. Or if I think that he's going to come in first, second, or third, maybe I'll place the token in the show section. Okay, so that's all you're doing. Everybody can place one token in each of these squares. All they're going to do is that if they're correct, then they're going to take the token, in this case 4, multiply it by the number on the board, in this case 3, and that gives you a total of $12 that you're going to earn. Okay, that's basically the whole point of the game. There are no turns. There's an entire racehorse that's just playing literally live as you're going, so you can constantly play. Bets stop only when the horses cross a certain line in the race, or if somebody finishes the race early. There are other special spaces. So, for example, there are these cards, and these cards will have different criteria. So if you think that the 11-12 horse is going to be ahead of the 6 horse at the end of the race, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to win or that he's going to come in last. It just means that the 11-12 horse is going to be ahead of the 6 horse by the end of the race. There are also some 4 spaces up here. Now, everywhere else on this board, only one person can go onto each one of those spots. But up here we have blue wins, orange wins, and red wins. And in that case, anyone can place one betting token in that section. Now, why does orange have blue times 5, orange times 3, red times 2? That's because this is going to be based off of rolling 2 dice. Now, if you're familiar with how statistics work with rolling 2 dice, there is a bell curve in the sense that the number 7 is going to be the most commonly number rolled. And 11 and 12 or 2 and 3, there are not nearly as many combinations of numbers on a set of dice, on a pair of dice that allow you to roll that. So it's much harder to roll those numbers. So the blue ones are harder to win. And then obviously it's easier with orange, even easier with red, and obviously the most common with the black or 7. So again, like I said, these are all just different betting spots, including these unique ones up here, and then the ones where anybody can go to as well. And then throughout the course of the game, we're going to have what's called an exotic finish, which is just a card that gives you another opportunity to place bets as well. And you do not have to play with these cards, nor do you need to play with the cards at the top. You can simply play with just the board if you feel a little overwhelmed with how things are going at first. But the idea is that you get to place bets while the horse race is going. Let me show you what a horse race looks like. Okay, so there's essentially 2 ways that you can play the horse racing portion of this game. Okay, basically the common way to do it is that you're going to have one player take the dice and roll them constantly, and they're going to move the horse correlating to the numbers. In this case, I rolled a 9, so I'm going to move the 9 forward 1 space. Then I'll roll the dice again. I got a 4. We're going to move the 4 1 space, and you're going to keep doing this non-stop. You're never going to stop for anyone else while you're doing this, and you're just going to keep rolling. And in this case, when you have doubles, typically if it's anything but a 7, everyone else, so say, for example, that I got a 9, and then I rolled a 9 a second time, you're going to look over at the side of the board there, and you can see that there's an extra number. That just means that you're going to move forward an extra 2 spaces when you roll the same number 2 times in a row. But there's a couple of variants on how this can be played. If you don't want to be this person, that's fine. You can just make one person do it and they can just have a good time. Secondly, there are tokens if the person who has to roll the dice wants to place bet as well. So that way they can also bet on the horses that they're rolling dice for. There's a variant where you can take turns. Each player takes a turn being the horse racer person as well. Or you can do it digitally. Let me show you. Okay, so I've turned down the sound for this portion, but essentially you're going to upload an app either to your phone or to a tablet or whatever way. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you use this app if you can. If you can't, then the board is perfectly fine for the point of the game. But if you can, I would suggest using it. Blowing it up to a TV is excellent as well if you know how to cast to a TV. But let me just show you. I'm going to turn up the volume. I know I'm going to be competing for volume here as I explain things, but I want you to hear how this goes down. So we have this randomized game option, and you can see that here's the board again. And so you have the person who's announcing everything. If I'm not mistaken, rumor has it that the designer of this board game is also the announcer. But all you have to do is you just have to hit play up in the corner, and then the race is off. And so basically, if you listen,
The 6 horse coming out of the gate early. The 11-12 horse coming out of the gate early. 4. The number 6 mare.
and you can see that as this is going on, that the horses are going to race automatically, and so you're going to be placing your bets live. Again, remember, there are no turns in this game, so the idea is that you are trying to race against essentially a clock, if you will. The clock is that the horses, either 3 of them cross this red line, or one of them gets to the finish line, but you want to be able to place all your bets, but you also want to place your bets appropriately so you don't lose money. Okay? And that's pretty much ready, set, bet. Now, I know what many of you may be thinking right now, that it's just a gambling game, and you would be right, but I'm telling you, this game is amazing. There's nothing about it that I don't enjoy. The fact that it's real time, that you can play together, and there's no turns. The fact that the rounds are quick, and by the end of it, you are just screaming at the top of your lungs. You're like, go, go, rooting for your favorite horse, and everyone else gathers around, and everyone's getting excited because of the bets that they've placed. And you know what? It's not even like that difficult of a game. Hopefully you can understand that you can increase or decrease the complexity of it. But the important thing is that when you're looking for games that play for the whole family, and yes, it plays up to 9 players, this is definitely one to check out. I hope you pick one up for Christmas this year. Stay tuned for number 4.